I think it's time to have a talk about why repressed anger, in particular in men, is very dangerous when we're talking about the nice guys. Now, these are the guys that present to you as very amiable. They always take care. They're putting everyone's needs, in particular women's, before their own. They're saying, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do everything for you. But they're actually coming into this with repressed anger. And what do I mean by this? I mean that there's this unconscious, unsaid contract that they have with somebody that, well, when I do this for you, then I'm going to get something in return. If I buy you dinner, then you're going to be intimate with me afterwards. If I do this for you, then you give me this in return. And the funny thing is that none of this is ever actually spoken out loud. It's all unsaid. And the thing is that then this energy that they bring into the space, which is quite a needy energy subconsciously, that somebody's body reacts in a way that creates this feeling of the ick. When someone is really needing something for you, or there's some unsaid words, the resonance that you feel around that person is that something's off. I can't quite place my finger on it, but something doesn't feel right. And of course it doesn't feel right, because they're not being truthful. They're lying about their intentions. They're lying about their motivations, first and foremost to themselves, so then in byproduct also to the person that they're engaging with. Then, when women get the feeling of the ick, they get the feeling like, actually, I don't think I want to have a connection with this person because my nervous system does not feel safe. And when women actually listen to that part of their body, then they're in turn rejecting this person. What then happens is a immediate emotional reaction inside of this person. Rejection equals frustration, sadness, because being rejected does not feel nice. But if somebody is not in attunement with their emotional landscape, they have no way of regulating these emotions as they come up. And then the facade drops. The nice guy who was so safe appearing and so friendly, then you see that the mask comes off, and underneath this is anger. This can show in various forms. This can come up as sarcasm. This can come up as viciousness, aggression. People who lash out are often the ones that we didn't have any expectation they would. But underneath, it's like this bubbling volcano. Finally, that rejection is the last thing that tips it, and then you actually see how angry they are. I'm not coming on here to shame you. I'm coming on here just to bring in the invitation that if you're not in touch with these deeper emotions of anger, of sadness, of vulnerability, of the intensity that it is to be rejected, then it is your responsibility to start looking at that. I've had encounters with men who consciously are not malicious people. They're not people who intentionally leave their home wanting to do harm to women. The dangerous part is we're working with the subconscious here. The shadows that pull these puppet strings in the background, these aspects, shadow work and areas of your psyche that have not yet been contacted with. The inner rapist, the inner abuser, the inner parts of you that are manipulative, that want their way, that are selfish. They exist in every single human being. They need to be met through shadow work, through discussions with your therapist. They need to be reflected on, writing, journaling, dancing, movement. But when this is not happening, then these parts are what come out in these shadow moments. The moments of rejection. That is when these malicious parts come to the surface and actually cause harm. With nice guys, these are the people who are not actively going out and hunting someone down on the street and assaulting in such an overt, direct manner. These people use the guise of their niceness to slowly get their way in, to push gently, bit by bit, your boundaries. These are the people that when you, as a woman, you give these no's, like, no, not right now. I don't want to do that right now. No, thank you. That's okay. No. These nice guys, because of not being able to sit with the big emotions of rejection, do not listen and hear your no. They start to take it as a challenge to earn your yes. These are the people that also, because of integrated nice girl behaviour, I in the past also had this, where I didn't want to immediately lash and say, no, get out of my space, I don't want you in here, because it wasn't such a big grievance against my being and my soul. It was this subtle pushing of my boundaries, until suddenly you find yourself in a position where somebody is grievously crossing your boundaries and you're like, how did I get here? How did I get to this point where I've had to say no to this person so many times and they're not listening? This brings me on to another point, that if we are raising boys to not listen and be attuned to the human being in front of them, if they are not able to notice in a woman in front of them when they're freezing, when they're dissociating, when their body has gone into shutdown, when they simply have in their mind a fantasy of what they want to get from this woman, when they are not listening to the signs of her body saying, I'm not fully consenting to this right now, when you're not able to notice that the woman in front of you is not kissing back, is not moving and giving the same energy back, when you maybe didn't even ask consent, or you just kept pushing her nose until she finally caved in. If you have ever had intercourse with somebody after multiple times asking them and them saying no and then they finally gave in, if you've had to push somebody's boundaries so many times that then they say yes, that is not true consent. You have just withered down their barriers enough for their capacity and their energy to no longer be able to stand up for what they need. This is very murky territory, but it's an important conversation to be had. That again, boundaries, being able to accept when someone else says no to us, is also part of healthy anger work. Because boundaries are not a wall. They are simply showing you on this wall where there is a door for relating to occur. And at the end of the day, this just requires self-responsibility, to take accountability for your emotional reaction to someone else's boundary. It is not the woman's job to have to explain her no. A no is a full sentence. If a woman says not right now, you do not need to gaslight them into undermining the reasons for their no. If a woman says no to you, it is not your job or position to try to change their mind. This makes me feel very angry and very sad that I even have to be making this video. My wish is that humans, men in particular, would just connect more to these emotions that they've feared inside of themselves. Sadness, vulnerability, the helplessness and loneliness that comes from being rejected by somebody of the opposite sex. And to not make it the responsibility of women to have to be educating you about this. For women, it feels very scary to be navigating with nice guys, because you can never quite tell what their true agenda is. Never fully tell, am I safe right now? If I do something to reject or to put a boundary in place, are they going to freak out on me? Am I in physical danger? Do I need to take care to check for my safety of a sexual, physical, emotional level? The invitation is to be aware of this going on inside of you. We talk of there being a male loneliness epidemic, but to be honest, maybe this is just evolution in process. Maybe this is just society and the evolution of human consciousness, which involves also emotional maturity, saying, well, if you're not willing to catch up, if you're not willing to be honest and truthful about what's going on inside of yourself, to do the inner work, to meet yourself, then women are not going to feel safe around you. Your bloodline will end with you. Yeah, I'd love to hear your perspectives on your encounters with the category archetype of nice guys. If you are a man and this is landing with you, it could be that this is triggering you. If it's triggering you, good. There's probably something in there for you to be reflecting on. As I said, I'm not here to be shaming you. I really bring this with just the invitation for growth and for development, to try to create a world where women, first of all, feel safer, and where men are more in authentic expression of who they are. Because then humankind is only going to get more evolved, and we're going to have a happier life and a happier planet. And a lot of that comes down to looking into your anger. So you've come to the right place.